watch this one. Okay, okay, okay. Here's my sandwich I'm eating.
If you've spent even the smallest bit of time on the internet, then you've most likely encountered a creepy thing or two, either being shared, archived, or just out of happenstance. These oddities can exist anywhere from the darkest corners of the deep web, or even right there in plain sight. Welcome back to Disturbing Things from Around the Internet. If you're new, then grab a drink, pop open a bag of your favorite chips, and get comfy.
Oh yeah, let's go.
This
I got
is
my
my
sandwich
series
right
that
here,
dives into
brother.
bite-sized, creepy, and disturbing internet oddities from all over the internet. If you'd like to get caught up, I have a dedicated playlist on my channel to ensure that you have hours of content to fish through
Holy
that'll
shit,
surely
man.
leave you up at night.
Dude, this guy's videos
With
are
that
good.
out of the way, it's time, with our guest, Scare Theater, to dive into 5 more, hand-picked, and disturbing things from around the internet.
Okay, Scare Theater's a guest. Okay. Dude, what the fuck is that? Is that some type of art?
This first entry comes from a Spanish Facebook page called Noticias de Cuernavaca. In this post, they claim that this footage comes from the historic center of Cuernavaca. The video that we're showing here was recorded by a policeman at his guard at approximately 4 in the morning. The nearby tenants say that this is not the first time that this has happened. The video that they attached is some simple cell phone footage that lasts 50 seconds long. In this, you're able to hear a woman scream that sounds like it was pulled straight out of a nightmare.
Dude, that sounds like an animal, like a cat. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't think that was a cat.
If you're unfamiliar with Mexican folklore, La Llorona, which translates to the Weeping Woman, is a popular urban legend that dates back to the 1960s. Legend has it that this woman lost her children and now cries while aimlessly wandering around in search of them. If she's ever encountered, she's known for causing great misfortune to those that approach her. Whether or not this is an actual spirit screaming, or somebody having a manic episode and breaking down in the near distance, it's hard to discount the fact that this scream sounds completely genuine and would undoubtedly freeze you in your tracks if you were ever to hear this yourself.
I would just got the fuck out of there. Not me, I would have got the fuck out of here. The Indonesian tsunami.
On December 22nd, 2018, tragedy would befall the Sunda Strait regions of Indonesia.
Holy shit, dude.
Completely without warning,
That's
the Anak
horrible.
Krakatau, also known as the Child of Krakatoa volcano, would erupt, causing an undersea landslide that ultimately would result in the devastating tsunami that ended up killing 429 and injuring 1,459 residents.
Holy
Apparently,
shit.
this volcano had been spewing ash and lava for months prior to when a 158-acre section of its southwest side collapsed.
Okay. First off, if a volcano is spewing lava, that's when you get the fuck out of there. Why are people still there if the volcano is spewing lava?
Resulting in the massive undersea landslide and wiping out the volcanic island in its entirety. The photos and video from the aftermath of this natural disaster are absolutely devastating, and one event in particular is chilling. Reminiscent of the station nightclub fire, Footage was caught at a concert where the pop band 17 was energetically playing. In this footage, all seemed to be going well, and everybody appeared to be having a great time, with nothing out of the ordinary. This enjoyment would unfortunately be short-lived, as it captures the moments leading up to the calamity.
Teman-teman, bukan salah tepuk tangan. Buat tsunami pada drum.
What the fuck?
Among the 429 that were killed, 2 of those were in the band themselves. We lost our bassist, Banny, and our road manager, Oki, the lead singer cried. The heartbreaking thing about this entire tragedy was that it was so sudden. No warning, no preparation, no sound for alarm, just Mother Nature in a fit of rage, wiping out everything in sight.
Holy
Since the
shit.
event,
Was
people
that
have
like
pled to
a
have some
fire?
sort of
What was
volcanic
that?
eruption or landslide detection system put into place. Indonesia must build an early warning system for tsunamis that are generated by underwater landslides and volcanic eruptions. Landslide triggered in the 1992 and the 2018 tsunamis. As recovery efforts continue, this, alongside every other natural disaster that occurs, is a very humbling example of how helpless we can really be against the unstoppable forces of nature itself.
Man, you guys ever think about that? I think sometimes we forget how vulnerable we actually are. Like even our planet. Let's say that a meteor is coming for us. There's like nothing we could do to stop that. Nothing we could do. Like with all of our technology, all of our, all that shit. There's literally nothing. A meteor just fucking comes and just hits the planet somewhere, and the whole thing is just, we're like back in the Ice Age, bro. Obviously, like, the chances that happen here are like super low, right? Because like, actually like Jupiter's gravity like gets a lot of that shit, But if one did, like, let's say, and it wouldn't even have like, all right, so if you think about it, right? A meteor like 2 miles wide or some shit is like catastrophic. That is so small in comparison to the size of the planet. Hasn't seen the documentary called Armageddon. Or think about it this way, right? What if the sun like shoots out like a massive like solar flare, right? What is it? The ozone layer like can't protect us. And some of that gets through. Well, it would like cause irreparable damage to all of our electricity. Through all the years that we've spent like building up, like our grid and all that shit, all of that gone in a second. Imagine a world without electricity. What the fuck? Yo, you know what? A world without electricity wouldn't have the internet. That might not be so bad. I can't live without internet anymore. I'm too dependent on it. Look, the only reason why I'm bringing all this shit up is because sometimes I think we forget how vulnerable we actually are. And it just takes like one thing.
A woman by the name of Maribel Ramos was an Iraq war veteran and college student back in 2013. With a dream of a career in law enforcement, she was taking classes alongside caring for her sick mother. She apparently lived with a 55-year-old man by the name of Casey Joy, and according to him, they were
I know about this. I've seen a documentary about this. You've never seen it? Oh, okay. I'm just gonna play it. It's fucked up. It's fucked up.
extremely close. In May 2nd of that year, Maribel would fail to turn up at various events that she was scheduled to show up to, and the very next day, she would officially be reported missing by her family. On May 8th, one of her friends by the name of Emily C., desperate for answers, would spontaneously post a thread on Yelp asking about Maribel. In her post, she claims, "My friend Maribel Ramos has been missing since Thursday, May 2nd. She was last seen at her apartment in Orange, California. Please help her family, friends, and I to find her. We need all the help we can get." Shortly after this, a reply would surface by a user named Enrique C., who asked if they had talked to the roommate by that point in time. In response, Emily C. would claim that, yes, they spoke with the roommate. He he willingly cooperated with the cops by giving them DNA samples, and even allowed them to take naked photos of him. He gave up his cell phone to them so he couldn't contact anyone, which he was all more than happy to do. 3 days after the exchange between Enrique and Emily, another stranger would interject into the conversation. A user by the name of KCKCK responded by saying, "I am Maribel's roommate. She's my BFF and my only family. She is absolutely the best woman I've ever met. We had so much fun together. I miss her so much. She always knew that I would give my life for her without any hesitation." Police forensic teams searched this 2-bedroom apartment 5 times with police dogs.
This is fucked.
They confiscated computer, hard drive, cell phone, car, and took several items. They contacted everyone on my phone list, and I don't know when I will get my properties back. These are major inconveniences, but all these don't matter. I miss Maribel, and that really makes me depressed and stressed out big time. Interestingly, people took notice of his wordage. He consistently referred to Maribel in past tense, without regard that she's only missing, not dead. Why would he spill his heart out like this over a very, very new missing persons case? A user named Grant K was one of many to notice this. May 14th. Am I the only one finding it odd that this KC roommate posted here and used past tense to refer to Maribel? We had, she always knew, as opposed to we have, or she knows. And why would she ask him to move out if they have so much fun together? My prayers are with the friends and family. This is very sad. At this point, people retorted at Grant, saying that he shouldn't make such bold assumptions and to let the police do their job.
Nah, he is.
as
He's
they
a native
should,
language.
rather
he
than
is.
turning this into a witch hunt.
Well, according to the documentary I watched. he was
Casey
anyway.
then jumped into the conversation
like, he knew
once
the
more
language really
in hopes
well.
of defending himself, claiming that English is his second language and that he still needs help with that from time to time.
Nah, that's a lie.
He then went forward pleading to others
Well, that
not
he
to
needs
make
help with
judgments
it.
about him, and that he, quote, wouldn't give a second to give his life for Maribel. This is when things become strange. The next day, he posts
He's
multiple
trying to use
times,
that to his
and each
advantage.
one seems to dig him further and further into the hole of suspicion. May 15th. I love Maribel as a friend and a roommate. This is how we say goodnight to each other. Goodnight, Maribel, Maya, Misun, Mom, and Dad. My profile photo is because I miss her. That is one from the night we went out. I said, Maribel is my one and only BFF. She is. She is my only beneficiary for my $250,000 life insurance, and my only beneficiary for my bank accounts, paid upon death. She knows this.
Dude, that's
I miss
so
her every
weird.
second I am awake.
That's so
A day
weird.
later, and 2 weeks after Maribel originally went missing, Emily C. would jump in, updating everybody that a body had been found. However, they don't know if it's Maribel as of yet. They should know by noon that day. And then, later that same day, someone named Thelma D. would drop the verdict on everyone. It's her. And the killer is KC.
There's actually a really good show on Netflix you should watch. This is, yeah. So, okay. So what happened? Yo, you guys want me to, okay, so he didn't go into too much detail because this is like, like multiple stories. You should watch this Netflix documentary series, The Worst Roommate Ever. That's what it's called. It's actually fucking awesome. Like, it is a really, okay, well, I mean, it's not awesome what happens, but the documentary is awesome. Like, it's very, very, very interesting, okay? And this is one of the stories. So what happened was he was like infatuated with her. She didn't like him that way. Like, she invited him into her family and all this, and then like as time went on, they got really weird. He got like a tattoo, I think, because she was like into tattoos. And then he like got like some cosmetic surgery because she was attracted to certain things. So he was like, trying really, really hard. And eventually what happened was he killed her. He buried her body off on this like kind of secluded like strip of road. And hey, let's watch this. Spoils it classic. Fine. You guys want me to shut up? Somebody ask. Anyway, look, if you guys are into this type of stuff, definitely check that show out. It's really good. Yeah, but that's where I remember it from. He didn't go into detail at all, obviously, because
This entry surrounds a story following 2 young teenagers, Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The pair were best friends in the 8th grade at Delphi Community Middle School in Delphi, Indiana, a small town of about 3,000 residents. As many teenagers do, the pair were keen on hanging out outside of school,
I used to live in
having
Indiana.
sleepovers, and going on spontaneous adventures for fun. On the evening of February 12th, 2017, the two would have a sleepover at Liberty's grandparents' house, as school was canceled the following day. The next day, the two girls were trying to figure out how to spend their afternoon and came up with the idea to hike around the Monon Bridge, a popular nearby hangout spot. After receiving consent from Liberty's grandmother and arranging for their grandfather to pick them up a couple hours later, her sister Kelsey would drop the pair off near the bridge at around 1:30 p.m. on her way to work.
Dude, that
Throughout
bridge
the
just
next
looks
hour or
like trouble.
so, everything was going as usual. Liberty, as many people do, began to share her trek along this bridge on Snapchat, and in this photo, taken at 2:07 p.m., you can see Abigail smiling as she walks along it. Unbeknownst to everyone though, this would be the last normal photo that Liberty would ever post to her social media. An hour later, Liberty's grandfather arrived to pick the two up, and texted her to meet him at the pickup spot. No response. Realizing this is uncharacteristic of her, he proceeds to call. Still, no answer. It was at this point that he'd walk along the bridge in hopes of finding the girls. However, this too would be futile. In response to his failed efforts, the grandparents would report the girls as missing, and a search was promptly underway. Countless volunteers aided in this, with people scouring the entire area. At around 6 p.m. the following day, the worst would unfortunately unfold. The bodies of two young
That's
girls
sad, man.
were located in Deer Creek, a mere half a mile from the bridge itself. The girls were confirmed by investigators to be Abigail and Liberty, and with this, the evidence that they gathered and released from Abigail's smartphone would baffle everybody. Police were able to locate this photo of a man walking along the bridge, taken shortly after Liberty's original Snapchat photo. And this very, very muffled snippet of audio sounds like a man saying the words, "Down the hill."
Down the hill. Down the hill.
It's been widely speculated that the audio and this man are directly connected to their deaths, and it's very possible that this same man was ordering the girls to go to a specific location down a hill before he ended their lives. To this day, the only evidence they have to go off of is that Snapchat, the
Holy
grainy photo,
shit.
the audio, and the sketch of the suspect. Everything else surrounding the true whereabouts and identity
That's
of the killer
crazy. They never
remains a
found him.
mystery to this very day. Since this tragedy, the entire town has since replaced all of their exterior light bulbs with those that have an orange hue, and will keep them as such until the day the killer is found.
Holy fuck, dude. Oh, they did recently? Oh, do you have a, yo, can anybody link me that? Oh, yo, let's watch this.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation.
And we had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. This investigation is still very ongoing. We're keeping the tip line open, the tip email open. We encourage everybody to continue to call in tips, not only about Richard Allen, but about any other person that you may have. For that reason, and for the nature of this case, the probable cause and the charging information has been sealed by the court. What I can say is that we have probable cause established by the court for his arrest, and he is in custody. He's being held currently without bond.
I don't feel like I thought I would. I've always said that I would be screaming on the rooftops, but we're not. It's sad.
I mean, that's good they caught him, but
While there's somebody that's been arrested, there is, you know, our lives for 5.5 years have been
holy
in a
fuck, it took him
search-
5.5 years to catch him.
search mode, and that's what we've done. And you get up and it's like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. So we're all just kind of feeling our way and figuring out what our purpose is now. What do we do next?
Damn. Damn, this video's pretty good.
Number 5 on our list surrounds an absolutely haunting 911 call made by a woman by the name of Ruth Price. Apparently, Price lived completely alone, and late one night, she noticed a man walking around outside of her home. Understandably shaken, she immediately calls 911 in hopes of getting help. However, what transpires afterwards is undoubtedly something that will disturb you.
What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, well, there's some guy been checking the place out. How? Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy, and he comes to my door, and said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. Mm-hmm. Where is he now, ma'am? I have no idea.
Oh my god.
While the validity of this voicemail is up for heavy debates, it's almost impossible not to be at least somewhat unnerved by this. It's hard to find any
Holy
concrete case
shit.
behind this recording, and it's unclear if Ruth Price is her real name or simply an alias. Since the recording, this call has been used in various dispatcher educational courses as a hard lesson to ask for the address of the victim before anything else, since if she would have given it up front, she would likely have been given help sooner, with the sliver of a possibility at still being alive. The internet is undoubtedly a weird place. Creepy and disturbing real-life events can pop up on you at any time, and tonight's installment exemplified this. If you, for some reason, haven't yet
That's
subscribed to Scary
fucked.
Theater, go over there and give him a sub, and a big thank you for jumping in this with me. He's one of my bigger inspirations, and it was awesome to have him on. Anyway, to close, thank you all for joining me in Volume 6 of
Holy shit, that last one was fucked, man. That was a really good video in the sense that it was very interesting. Holy shit. Oh, the Ruth Price phone call was solved.
Now, I wanted to make a quick update video for you all on a topic we've covered just recently because as I was scrolling across Reddit today, I found out that the Ruth Price phone call was solved. And if you recall from my last video, I stated this. So ultimately, I lean just a tad more on this tape being real rather than fake, but I honestly think you could make an argument for either side. And while I'd obviously love to know what you guys think about all of this, for now I must say the mystery of Ruth Price will continue as an urban legend until some other new info comes forward to suggest otherwise. Now, as it turns out, the call was real, and it appears
That's
the missing
insane.
link to this particular phone call has finally been found. So the person who found this was a user on Reddit by the name of FarValuable5819, and they had been listening to another podcast that just recently talked about Ruth Price. This podcast was the Going West podcast on December 31st, 2021, and after hearing that podcast on Ruth Price, they decided to check news archives, and they managed to make a breakthrough. Now, obviously, when I did my research for my video, I obviously looked through news archives extensively. But I will note, I spent basically all my time looking through commercial archives like newspapers.com. This person found the smoking gun looking through a newsbank archive, which is an archive you would find at an institution or a public library that tends to be more extensive. From here, all they really had to do was search for Ruth Price and it would give them the final result that would tie this whole thing together. Because they found an article from November 3rd, 1980 in the San Diego Union Tribune. And if you recall C from our last episode, the 911 operator I spoke to, and also the person who uploaded the call from cassette tape to the internet, they claim that this wasn't a 911 call as it either predated it or it was simply a non-emergency line. Well, it turns out San Diego didn't implement 911 until 1982, and it appears the night that Ruth Price was attacked was in 1980. And the specific Ruth Price that was attacked was the one that I showed from last episode from Google Street View. However, the confusing detail that threw everybody off was the fact that this woman had passed away from an illness in 1994. And thus this led me and many others to believe that this couldn't be the Ruth Price that we were talking about.
I didn't know that. There wasn't a 911 number until 82, he said? I had no idea. Before 1982, you were just fucked.
As it turns out, the urban legend had basically been throwing us off. And some of you suggested that Ruth Price simply could have been assaulted on this night and then passed away in 1994. Turns out this was correct. Not only did she not pass away, she actually survived and scared off the Prowler, which means that this story was likely fabricated after the fact for training purposes.
Wait, what?
To quote the San Diego Union Tribune on November 3rd, 1980, it stated, "Police are looking for a youth who tried to strangle a 76-year-old East San Diego woman yesterday. Officers said Ruth M. Price of the 3800 block
3877
of 35th Street was calling police to advise them of a prowler in the area when she was grabbed from behind and choked. She was able to break the attacker's grip after dropping the telephone, screaming, and pulling at the attacker's hands. The youth fled. Price said she did not know why she was assaulted and had never seen the suspect before." So there you have it. There was a real call, but the story behind it wasn't. Not only that, I also want to point out that the loud thud that we hear at the end is basically her pulling the phone receiver to fight off whoever is attacking her. Given the fact that this tape was used for training, it's a cheeky little trick to say that the call is real, but have the trainers fabricate the backstory behind it. Based on your guys' comments, it seemed that most of us anticipated fake audio with a backstory based
I don't know,
on
man.
true
That
events.
call sounded real.
Now, obviously, I don't think this call would have stuck around on the internet as an urban legend for as long as it did, had all of us been told that the woman had survived. But as is the case for many 911 operators, they often don't know the outcome of the calls
Holy
they receive.
shit. Dude,
So to
she's a
recap our
badass.
timeline, it appears that after the 1980s, this call spread across cassette tape to other parts of Southern California, where after some 2 decades later, C, who is also based in Southern California, had uploaded this call to the internet. And thereafter, the internet had spread like wildfire. But it is worth mentioning that the earliest mention of this call on an internet forum is also from an EMT out of Southern California as well. But thankfully, the ending of this internet mystery is that she did in fact survive. And based on how many of you were familiar with this particular phone call after the last video, it appears this call has had a lasting legacy and has made the world a safer place as a result. So that being said, this is Barely Sociable. Have a good night.
Dude, that was good. Oh my God, bloody tears? Came for the information, stayed for the fucking music, bro.